this is. Welcome. Sorry for being late. I told you I'm setting up my internet. I'm working from my hotspot, so we'll see how well this works. But thank you for coming in. Welcome to the Nurse Practitioner Entrepreneur Diary series. My name is Dr. Kimberly Madison. This is my channel. I use the internet to share my journey and present it as a case study for those of you who are interested in being a nurse practitioner, practicing dermatology, and entrepreneurship. Any one or all three, I'm here to share my journey because I believe in community. So I've been doing this for almost a year now, and the plan is to come on Sundays at 3 p.m. Eastern. I moved last Sunday. I'm still settling in. Hello, Mother. So I couldn't come on 3 o'clock today. So that's why I'm coming on now. But the plan is to resume our 3 p.m. Sundays. So now I'm in Central Time and in a whole different time zone. For my own benefit, I'm going to use Central Time because I know if I keep going to Eastern, I'm going to mess it up one of these days. So it will be 2 p.m. Central on Sundays. In this episode, I'm going to answer all your questions that you've asked me in the last week. They've been really, really good. And I hear the same questions over and over. So I know this is going to be helpful for everyone. So we'll go through, I'll tell you what the agenda is. You can decide if you want to stick around or not. So first of all, we will get into, so as you know, we have the DMV Dermatology MPPA group, which is a networking group for NPs and PAs practicing or aspiring to practice in medical, surgical, or cosmetic dermatology in DC, Maryland, or Virginia. We've just finished having our second meet and greet in the fall, and we're already preparing for our Friendsgiving, which will be in November. We just started our sister group, thanks to Allie, who's the advisor out there. I'm going to actually start this video by walking her through some things I want her to do on social media, and I figured you could benefit from that, and I'll get into more details about that. She's a busy lady working 2 jobs in school, and so I'm going to direct her to this video, give her the instructions, and then she can move on about her business. And then if she wants to stick around here, the other things she can, but it will serve hopefully as an example for those of you who are also trying to work remotely in a mentor-mentee relationship or through growing your business and hiring on employees, because it's pretty much the same thing I do with my assistant. Let's see. So we'll do our live mentorship session, which says mentoring is going to focus on social media, LinkedIn specifically, and communication, how to optimize our communication using WhatsApp. And then I'm going to answer all your questions, which have to do with having it all, how to get my tips for shadowing. I've done more than 200 hours in shadowing before I even became a nurse. And so, of course, that only 10x once you have to start getting preceptors and things like that. So I have some things that I think will be helpful. And I have included those in the virtual preceptor shop as well in my ebooks. We'll talk about some life things in terms of focusing more on who you want to be in the life you want to have as opposed to what you want to do for a living. And then we'll give updates related to the DMV Dermatology Group, Derm MPs and Ps of Atlanta, DMPs of Color, Diversity in Dermatology, and the Melanin Initiative podcast. So we used to start this talking about wellness, and we're going to do that towards the end. This way, like I said, the people who don't want to stay around for that, they can leave. But I'm still going to start off with reading from a devotional. My book that I normally read from is still packed, but I pulled up one that we can go into because so much of our training is focused on patient-centered care, and you're going to hear me talking more and more about provider-centered practice, because that's really what I love spending my time on, supporting you, whether you're a practicing or aspiring provider. Because we spend so much time focused on the patient, we lose sight of how to take care of ourselves. And so that's primarily what I'm here for, to help you for who you are outside of clinic, as well as inside, how that can relate. But really, once you step in the clinic, it's really all about the patient. And so I'm here to support you outside of that environment. And it's so important when we talk about wellness that we talk about mental health, spirituality, whatever that means for you, your physical health, and finances, which we'll get into more in the new year. in terms of getting our own paperwork together for ourselves as well as for our business. My lens is always going to be coming from the nurse practitioner who loves dermatology and who is building businesses. So that's the perspective I'm always going to be coming from. If you don't fit any of those categories, but you know someone who does, please share my information with them. I would absolutely love it to be able to support them whatever way I can. And the community that we're building, we want to help them too. So let's start off with the devotional. I picked this particular one. So this is the Holy Bible app. And you can go in there and you can pick different plans. I picked a devotional one that was kind of focused on anxiety, just based on the questions that I've been getting lately. And because we're about to enter the seasonal affective disorder season, or SAD. And I've talked multiple times this year about my own experience with that, as well as with anxiety. So I just thought this was pretty much appropriate. So this is called Recognizing the Stronghold. For years, it would baffle me when a friend would mention that their anxiety would flare up in certain social situations. To me, it meant that they would perhaps feel nervous around people, or that they get a feeling of uncomfortability that would probably pass after a few minutes. The verbiage was something I struggled to identify with, mainly because I didn't realize that their language of anxiety flaring up was my definition of being stressed out. Our language was different, but the feeling was the same. As I engaged more in conversation, I realized that my friends' problems, I would have previously said, to this will pass, to where actually feelings I struggled with myself. I just had little awareness and even fewer tools to overcome. Anxiety at its core most often refers to an incessant worry or apprehension about what is to come. It's a fear that surrounds uncertain possibilities or outcomes and affects the way we think and behave. We've all experienced that inexplicable and overwhelming feeling of dread in the pit of our stomach, a feeling that we can't seem to shake off no matter how hard we try. We simply overthink, imagine the worst possible scenarios, and suffer at the hands of those fictional thoughts. It cripples our overall happiness and can impact our external relationships. The first step in overcoming habitual anxiety is to have awareness that it exists as a stronghold in your life. I can hear many of you saying, "That's a no-brainer for me," behind your screens. You get it, but verbalizing that it's a stronghold is acknowledging to yourself and to God that it's not welcome in your life. Sometimes we just need to assume that it is a natural response to any new, overwhelming, or unusual circumstance. While this may be true for you now, it does not have to remain this way. It does not have to be a way of life. Recognizing anxiety as bondage is the most crucial step in living a life of freedom and liberation. Once we have identified this, what comes next? This form of fear cannot possibly be our holy portion as believers. Nonetheless, in the Word of God, we see relatable characters personified. It's not the stories of perfect and exemplary men and women who achieve great things, but rather the stories of flawed, ordinary individuals who went on to accomplish extraordinary feats because they chose to depend on God rather than their own strength. God uses people like them, and even stumbling and broken people like us, to show that He alone can turn things around. Experiencing anxiety is not abnormal, but how we respond to it is a choice to practice dependence on the Lord. When time and repetition, that route becomes second nature, and our character reflects His, the Prince of Peace. This is a reflection time. You may be reading this plan or hearing it because you've noticed a pattern of anxiety in your life already. After all, we all deal with stress unless we're living in a bubble and have no contact with the outside world. When you have time, write down a few ways that you know when you're anxious. How do your body and mind usually respond? Acknowledge these feelings to the Lord and ask for His perspective. It actually has audio too. And then yeah. So if you're interested in that plan, let me know. I can always uh, send you a reminder. Let me know in the comments. But yeah, let me play this little, let me show you how you can hear it.
Recognizing the stronghold. For years, it would baffle me when a friend would mention that their anxiety would flare up in certain.
So I listen to a lot of things, and because we're all busy, right? And so I use audio features for a number of things. I told one of my mentees that Word like the word suite, Office Suite, has audio feature. So you can back documents. I use the Adobe app to play back PDFs. I think it's on the PowerPoint. So, when we say, oh, these are these resources, and the first thing, if you're a nurse or in nursing school, nurse practitioner school, you're going to say, I don't have time, or you're busy working multiple jobs or going to school, raising a family. I always say, use your ears when your hands are busy. That's driving, standing in line, charting, cleaning, cooking, a million opportunities throughout the day to get information in. I'm almost never doing one thing only. So that's one tip. So let's jump into it. So right now, me and Allie, so Allie's the advisor for the Derm MPPA group in Atlanta. And so we're communicating back and forth, and I'm using her to develop a framework on how we can get nurses, students primarily, more involved in publication policy and curriculum. Because when we look at our physician colleagues, despite the rigor of their coursework, they aren't publishing. They're taking on leadership positions and professional organizations, are starting interest groups in their own school. And there's lots of mentorship from the time they decide they want to be a physician to decades later. And yet in nursing, we don't see this. Now, I've been talking about this for about 2 weeks now, and I've given it a lot of thought. And I think there might be some socioeconomics involved with that, because I don't know that many med students work. And while nursing students and NP students are encouraged not to work, quite a few of us do. I worked all through nursing and NP school. In nursing school, I had, which I think last 2 weeks ago, I talked about working through nursing school. I had kind of very light, flexible jobs, and I lived below my means, right? I wasn't taking care of a family. Some people are taking care of families. They have spouses. They have extended family that depend on them. So these circumstances are going to be situational. But I was a tutor and I was a Zumba instructor, so lots of flexibility. And then in P school, I worked night shift. I had already been in a job for 3 years when I went back to grad school. So I had flexibility when it came to my schedule and getting what I needed. And then I continued to work full time, even through my rotations. A lot of NPs, if you don't know, NP students, once they do get to their rotation, they'll typically drop down to PRN to accommodate for the schedule. But yeah, like I said, I worked through the whole thing. And so I think that might play a role in the ability to participate in publication, policy, curriculum, mentorship, leadership. And it's pretty much mandated when it comes to physicians to make them more competitive. And it's like part of the application. In nursing, we don't have that mandate. In fact, I feel like there's fewer mandates because nursing tries to make the industry, the practice so accessible that a lot of those mandates are not present. And we don't do a good enough job in nursing school to tell students that you're only being taught one aspect of this thing, which is a career, not a job. I think a lot of people in nursing approach it as a job and not a career, and don't know what it means to develop a career. And so I think that explains a little bit of why we're not involved in those areas. I'm still thinking through that, but those are kind of my initial thoughts up front as to why we don't see more nurses doing that. So for Allie, so through Allie, she just picked up a second job, and she's in a what do you call it? Master Entry FNP program, and I believe it's accelerated. So she's really working hard. And so it was her idea to start this. Well, we were talking, and I thought it would be great to start this sister group. And she's been full board. She's come up with great ideas. So now not only do we have a Facebook page, we have an Instagram page, and she, aside from most of you too, right? Even the girls at the podcast, your interaction with social media is limited to posting like your own personal content. And so now we're talking about kind of elevating those skills and learning the other side of social media, which particularly is beneficial if you're trying to get entrepreneurship, because social media is a free marketing tool, right? You can have a great idea, but if nobody knows you exist or it exists, it's not going anywhere. It allows you to establish your digital footprint. It allows you to be Googleable, and then to have control of what people find when they Google you. So that's why what we're going to talk about today in setting up a LinkedIn page is super important before you make any contacts, because as soon as you email someone, meet them, message them, apply for a job, whatever, they're going to look you up, and you want to have control over what they look up. And the more you create content on a consistent basis, it doesn't have to be daily, but as long as you're consistent, you will start to rank in Google, and then you'll have control over what we see when we look you up. So, first of all, you're talking about setting up a mentorship relationship, right? Typically, that communication is gonna happen through. It can happen through email. You can schedule video chats, text messaging, and then my preferred one is WhatsApp. I've done all of those, right? And depends on the other person. If the other person prefers email or video chats, like my mentee in the DMP program, we do video chats. Those are once a month, right? That works for his schedule. It works for me. We already have an agenda that we're following based on the school and my experience, and so we follow that. With my assistant, we use WhatsApp to communicate. I rarely use text. In my experience, it really things get lost, and then you're always searching back and forth. And for me, it's not very organized. So I would prefer video chats are great. Email can work depending on if that person checks their email and how much they get in their email. But WhatsApp is really hands down perfect. And I'm not even an expert in WhatsApp, but I have learned you can do text messages, audio, video. You can set up groups. You can do polls. Of course, you can attach pictures and images and documents. It's encrypted. You can do it in other time zones, other parts of the world, which is super helpful when we're talking about being part of a global market. So WhatsApp is going to be hands down what I want. So for Allie, I want her to set up her WhatsApp account. Just download the app, and then when she has that set up, she'll tell me, and then I'll be able to send messages, preferably audio or video, because they're faster, right, than sending a text message. And so that's number one. After that's done, she's going to go over to her LinkedIn page, which I don't think she has because I checked it out. So this is going to be a live demonstration because I'm going to be walking her through. So let's see if she set it up already. And even if I don't find her, that doesn't mean she hasn't set it up because there's a lot of people on LinkedIn. Okay, so I want Allie to go and set up her LinkedIn page. You can do this too while I'm making this video. So by the time this video is done, you can say you checked it off. So you're gonna set up your account. Once you set up your account, you're gonna go into your personal profile. So you have a personal profile, which is your page, but if you have a business, you can actually have what's called a page. So when you fill that information out, it'll say first and last name. It'll actually say like the name of the business or whatever company that you're establishing that page for. And when you see the two, you'll see that there's differences in what you post. One is more like personal stuff. So you're going to have like your about section, education, work experience, publications, professional organizations. And then on the page is going to be more business oriented. From what I can tell from the page, the business page, you can't really follow other people, and there's more restrictions over there. And you can't have a page until you have a personal profile. So for Allie, she's going to start her personal profile page, and you're going to have your personal. So first you have your name. If you're a clinician, you can put your credentials. That's always going to be preferred. When people Google you, this will pop up as one of the things they can click on. Then you're going to put your professional picture. So she has one that she has been using, so that's perfect. But if you don't have one, you can create one, which should be like a solid background. You know how to look professional, and then really bright lighting. Just make sure we can really see your face, and you can use that anywhere, any of your profiles. You can use it on your resume, so you stand out. Anytime you want to stand out, you can invite it for interviews. If you put together a pitch deck, so that you can do, so that when you do kind of put yourself out there to want to get interviewed more frequently, people can see who you are and what you look like. So you can put that up there. And then this is the banner. The banner is, there's going to be, when you create a page for the first time, it's going to be blank, or it has like blue, gray or something. There's not really much to it. So for Allie, I don't want her to leave it blank. And I don't care what she puts back there. She can put something related to her school. She's at Emory right now. She can use the Derm MPPA of Atlanta logo if she wants. Honestly, I don't care what she does, but it just needs to be something other than the default. In the next section, right below your name, you can put kind of like what you want to be associated with. So for me, I have dermatology education for NPs, virtual preceptor, podcast host, because when you search people and they give you a list of people's names, you'll see that name, and then you'll see kind of like what they want to be associated with, professor, entrepreneur, their business name. You can look right now while I'm talking to you, and you can see what I'm talking about. And so because you only get like a little bit of space when you look them up, you really got to be mindful of what you put there, because whatever is first, that's what people are going to see first. And then if you associate yourself with anything, that'll be right after that. So I have myself associated with JCAD, the Journal of Clinical and Aesthetic Dermatology, because I'm a peer reviewer and I just got invited to be on their editorial advisory board. And then I put GW, or George Washington University, because that's where I went to school. And you'll put the city that you're in. If you have a link, like I've linked to the Mahogany Dermatology blog, that'll be next. Some of these things are completely optional. So for Allie, she can put Emory, she can put the Derm and PPA group of Atlanta. Of course, she can put Atlanta, Georgia as the city. And for the link, she can put anything she wants. She can link to our group, our Facebook page, or Instagram, or our sign up. We have a new email and event sign up list that's in the description box. Any of those she can actually do. So for me, the way my leadership style goes is when I'm not a micromanager, I like to give people a lot of creativity, flexibility, room. Because I'm just here to support her, not to tell her what to do. And also I find that then it's better like as a learning process to kind of navigate a little bit on your own, as opposed to having me do all the thinking. And then she's going to see things in a different way than I see them, just based on our experience and our like where we are in life at the moment. And so I want her fresh eyes, her fresh vision, her fresh curiosity. And so she can have lots of flexibility there. And then you go to your about section. So this is an important part, right? A lot of people will read this section, about right there. And so this is where you're going to chat GPT. If you've never used chat GPT, it's free. You chat GPT in Google. You can log in through your email. This way it'll keep track of like your style. It can get really granular, but we're going to keep it simple. You're going to log in and chat GPT with your Gmail, or your Gmail account, or whatever email. And then you're going to go in there and you're going to ask ChatGPT, say, help me write the about section for my LinkedIn page. Make sure you include that I am a MP student, that I aspire to practice in dermatology, something about your past, like a little bit about your past, maybe, something about your present, and of course, where you want to go in the future. And then, she can include that she's the advisor for the Derm and PPA of Atlanta group, and that they're a sister group, and the for the DMB Dermatology and PPA group. She can put all that there. I don't want to. She has some exciting news, so I don't want to give that. Should I tell her? Should I say? It might help. Yeah. So yeah, she just nagged a nice shadowing opportunity. So that won't be on her about page, but it'll be in her content that she creates soon. So make sure you follow so you can hear about her tips on how she nagged that job and what she would have done differently and advice she has for you. So then now we're going to get into like your posts. So if she hasn't posted anything, there's not going to be anything here. But when she does start posting, like say her first post is about the Derm and PPA group, then she can create that post and then pin it, which you can, if you haven't really done it, even on Instagram, you can pin posts on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, all of them. And so that will be what's always there, regardless of how many posts come after that, it'll be featured. So for my page, I have books in my ebooks in the virtual preceptor shop, and I put those there. Okay. And my interview with Dr. Scott Boswell, the creator of Derm Bootcamp, my interview with Victoria, the director of the Leahy Dermatology program. So I've pinned those things there. I find those to be most important. When people come to my page, you got to assume they're going to spend as little time as possible until you really get them. So if you only have 30 seconds, what do you want people to know, right? I want them to know my name, what I'm into, where I'm located. They might not read the whole about section, just depends on why they came to my page and if they know me. And then the featured stuff, if they don't read anything after that, of course I want to start, gear people towards my my ebooks. And then you'll see all your posts. And so when you create posts, just like all the other platforms, you can write a narrative, write words, and then you can hit add, and you can add video, you can add posts. So there's different. So when you're talking about creating posts and content, there's videos, which you all know. Sometimes in the platform might be called reel, might be called mobile video. So you have videos, then you have static posts, which are, there's no movement, right? So this is static posts. Some places call it a carousel, image, graphic, whatever. And so you can put that there. Anything that's going to take up the screen. So profiles preferred over landscape. And you want, so profile, so when people scroll, if you're a profile, you'll get more screen time, as opposed to it being landscape. They're going to go right by you. If you have a lot of text, they're going to go right by that. You can have some text, try to grab their attention. Try to grab their attention, because they already know to go to the description box. They already know to go to the caption to learn more. And then video always wins better than static post, although static posts have their place. And I notice amongst clinicians, they do a little bit better than in like the general public, because I guess because we're kind of readers, it kind of does catch our attention. But think if your target, it depends on who your target audience is. If they're catching it during a busy day or at the end of the day, they might not want to do a lot of reading. And then we're drawn to faces. People are attracted to other people. So that's why you want your posts, if you're going to put a face or an image, you want it to take up the bulk of the screen time. And then you don't want to really cover it with anything. It took me a little while to come on because I'm working from my hotspot, and it took a long time for my thumbnail to download. And I think I'm following these rules that I told you. So yeah, that's the main thing for that. And so she'll add that, and you can schedule stuff, right? And so that's my tip. That's my main tip, is to schedule your life away. So like I said, she has 2 jobs and she's in an accelerated program. So for her, let's say she's agreed to make 4 posts a month, right? Once a week, which is a wonderful schedule. I come on here once a week, right? So 4 videos a month. So you can do your batch content, which I always recommend. Let's say you have Sundays scheduled for, set aside for social media. So let's say the last Sunday of every month, you create all your content for the next month. So when you become really efficient, in 1 hour, you can get, and you say you do 15-minute videos, or it takes you 15 minutes to create a flyer or a static post. You can get 4 done in 1 hour. So in 1 hour, once a month, you've created content, and then you schedule it, no matter what platform you're talking about, except for TikTok. On TikTok, I think the website you can schedule, but you can't from the app. Some things you can do from the app, you can't do from the website, and that's on all these platforms. But pretty much everywhere else, you can schedule stuff out, and you schedule it and you move on with your life. You still are consistent, you're still present, you're still in control of your digital footprint. And yeah, if you feel this urgency to kind of be doing something as it relates to your practice or your business or your networking, then it's done. And yeah, so that's my recommendation. So she can come in here, she can schedule the date and time, and then be done with it. And so let's say we decide, as her mentor, I say, okay, for the next month, this is the category. We're going to talk about joining professional organizations. In the first piece of content, you're going to talk about which organization you joined, what's their mission. The second piece, you'll talk about benefits of membership. And the third one, you'll talk about upcoming events. And the fourth one, you talk about the different categories of membership or what your experience was like joining. Boom, you're done. So it's one topic, but we split it up. You could make one video, could be dedicated to that, or you can split it up. If you have 4 tips for how to get a shadow opportunity, you can do all 4 tips in one video or one post, or you can do 4 separate videos, 1 tip each. Now, in each video, you reference the other one so that they go see the rest of your content. Lots of flexibility there. So now you're creating posts, you're scheduling them out, and then you can put your experience, you can link to organizations, and that's how you get those logos added up next to your name. Then when you create things like down here, so if up here she decides to not say anything about the Derm MPAS-PA group of Atlanta, that's fine. definitely down in the experience section, she's going to put the name of the group, and the title is that she's the advisor for that group. And then she can put a little blurb about the group, which she already has that information. And then if you're part of professional organizations, you can add that. So, you can become a member of Diversity in Dermatology right now, tonight, because it's free. And then you can update that immediately. You have no derm experience, you haven't done anything in derm. Now you automatically have something in dermatology with your name next to it. You can put your education. That will link you to other people, other alumni. It kind of adds credibility to your page too. And you can be as detailed or as simple as you want. You can add skills. People can endorse you, which adds more. It's kind of like adding credibility, verifying that you exist. You can add publications too. So some of these publications I wrote, and then one of these I was invited to they wanted to interview me, and so I added that publication here too. And then you put a link there, and then when people click that, it takes them automatic to that page. So if you're a DMP student and you have your DMP project, it should be here. Let me see, do I have mine? Yeah, okay, so my project's there. And I've seen other people's pages, they put all kind of things here. So you can check out other people's pages, you can keep it real simple and do that. So for Allie, she's already created her intro video on the Instagram page. And so I want her to, so what you're gonna do, which I've walked her through it. I usually make all my videos on Instagram because I like the features. And so you go to Reel, you go to your main page if you've never done that. So you're on the home page, okay? And at the bottom is a plus. Then you're gonna scroll over to Reel, and then you're gonna swipe down. When you go down, now you can see all the boxes. There's a little clock, and it has 15 seconds, but when you click it, it'll have 90 seconds. Now I'm all over the place. That'll give you the most time to make a video. After you've made the video, it's downloaded, it's on. So this is the video that she made, right? So one thing I will say, so on your Instagram page, there's 3 icons there. The home icon, sometimes I can't do everything I want there, but when I go to the video icon in the middle, I can do all kind of edits. I can do this with anybody. So if they made it possible, I can download anybody's video. You can download anybody's video. So here's her video. I'm gonna hit the share icon, and at the bottom of the share icon is a download icon. You download that icon. You hit that download icon. While that's downloading, I hit the 3 dots under the share icon, and it has, because I didn't make this video. But if I made the video, let's go to my video. So then when I hit the 3 dots, I go to manage, and then it allows me to edit. I go to edit, and I copy this whole caption. Now it's on my clipboard, right? So now my video is downloaded. I go to every single place I want to post the video, and I will paste that same caption. So I'm not starting from scratch. And then I go to pictures and add, and I upload that video that I just downloaded, and then I post it. I'm done. And I do that for YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook. So you can link your Facebook and Instagram, and you could be done right there. You can use Facebook has Meta, which has like a planner and a content calendar. You can do stuff over there too, which I used to do a lot. But anyways, the same video, same caption, TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook. I think that's it. And so then you can be done and be all over the place. That's a long way to go. I also pay for a social media management software. So we do it one time, and it posts to all those things at one time. And that's really the goal, where you want to be. It costs money, right? And so in the beginning, when you first start, it might not be as expensive as you think, but then you also have to ask yourself, how much is your time really worth, right? And for me, it's worth it to pay, and you'll get there too. So that's my tip for Allie. Go on, finish studying, Allie, and let me know if you have any questions. Okay, so I've heard from a few of you guys this whole idea of like doing it all, right? And certainly in school, it's tough. It's going to feel like you need to do it all. You need to get A's, you need a passport, you need to get a job, you need to maintain your life outside of school. I I don't know how much life you can maintain out of school. It's tough. I think when it comes to nursing school, I think because it's not med school, there's this whole like expectations are lower. Like, so many nurses, it must not be that bad. Or I know a nurse, it must not be that bad. But nursing school is tough. It's rigorous. And I think it's kind of a culture shock when students get in and see how tough it is, particularly because maybe the prerequisites aren't hard enough, or because you did so well there and you get to nursing school and it's just a different, it's just different. It's a lot of content. You're left to study it on your own. Most of college is really you studying on your own. I've been to a lot of different schools, and it doesn't matter the caliber of the school. You only spend so much time with the professor, whether it's online or in the room. Everything else is up to you. So when it comes to doing something new, let's say like dermatology, and you think, oh my gosh, I have to get this job, I have to get this fellowship. But at the end of the day, it's still going to come down to you, what you do at home on your own time. So don't let imposter syndrome creep in and, make you get discouraged, and don't let analysis paralysis keep you from moving forward. All you need to do is buy a book and start reading it, join a professional organization and get active, start networking. Don't be afraid to ask for what you need, and set realistic expectations on what you think you're getting into, right? That's where shadowing becomes really helpful. When you join a professional organization and you know people, they're going to be more willing to give you those kind of opportunities than just like strangers, right? So, having it all. So it might look like people have it all, but if you really talk to people, you will see that they don't have it all, right? And I've mentioned before that when it comes to entrepreneurship, there's three things: friends, family, business. You can have two of the three, but you can't have all three, right? You can have a thriving business and your family, but you probably don't see your friends. You can see your friends and your family, but then you probably don't have a business. You can see your friends and work on your business, but then you probably aren't spending a lot of time with your family. And that's because there's only 24 hours in the day. So while it may be desirable to have it all and it may look like other people have it all, that's not the goal. The goal is not to have it all, the goal is not to do it all. Sorry about that. The goal is not to do it all. It's almost impossible, right? It's impossible to have a relationship with God, to work out every day, to eat right, to meal prep, to study and make hundreds, to always be at work and on time and attentive, to have a thriving relationship, to spend time with your family and your friends, and run a business, especially if you've never done it before. And then once you're running that business and you have employees, your time is being consumed. So if you want to do any of those things really well at a high caliber, you can't do it all. You have to delegate. Now, at certain parts of your career, especially in the beginning, it's almost impossible to delegate because you're still trying to figure out what it is you're doing and who to delegate to. So it does take a while to figure those things out. But my words of advice today is the goal is not to do it all. And I promise if you talk to anyone who it might look like they're doing it all, they will tell you, oh no, I get my groceries delivered. Someone else comes and cleans my house. My mom watches my kids at night and on the weekends, or my husband takes the kids away on Saturdays so I can work on my business. Or, someone else does my hair, or I got locks so I don't have to spend that much time on my hair. Or they're outsourcing things in their life, right? Even I told you I have an assistant. And nothing's hands off. Even when you get help, it's still not hands off, but it is a huge, huge difference. So for example, on the podcast, the Melon Initiative, I have an idea. I tell Angie, she runs with the idea. I really don't make anything anymore aside from videos, and she takes it after that, from emails to posts to videos to edits to apologies to rescheduling. She's really doing all the ideas. She comes up with ideas all the time. And as long as it's legible and it looks attractive and it's appropriate with what we're trying to accomplish, I greenlight it, right? I don't have time to be like, oh no, this is how I would have done it. This is the way, because the way I would have done it would have been based on me managing 12 different things. When you're focused, you're laser focused on something, you can do a much better job. And so if you're a student or you're a new clinician, maybe you've been practicing for a while, but you haven't really gotten proper mentorship, and your goal that you're working on right now is to try to prove that you can do it all. And at some point, yeah, there's there is this desire to prove to yourself, right? But you don't want to stay there. The goal is my goal, and I try to be as transparent as possible, that I'm not doing it all, and it's not sustainable. And so whenever you can get to a point where you can let go of some things, let them go, right? Whether that means giving it to someone else or just saying, hey, my time here is done. Maybe it's some association or some task, or maybe it's like you've been doing it, but you realize I don't need to keep doing it, especially if it's just to keep up with other people. So that's that. So shadowing. So when it comes to shadowing, and I can't wait for Allie, she's going to come out soon and talk about her tip for shadowing. But I've come on here and talked about it before. Like I said, it's in my ebooks. I always talk about how to get shadowing opportunities. The tips for shadowing apply to getting shadowing, mentoring, preceptors. It's all the same. It's a cold start. You don't know them, they don't know you, but you're trying to get somewhere, right? Whereas a warm start is getting referred by someone that has that relationship. That's always going to be your best bet. Always, always, always. Don't overlook who might be able to help you. We interviewed Clarence Sams, who's a second-year med student, and we did a live mentoring session with Chanel, who's a student at Norfolk State. And his tip to her, which I highly recommend, is starting with your providers. Remember, your doctors, your nurses, your NPs, your hygienists, they're in the industry. They have friends who do other things, or they know someone who does. So you always start there. That's always going to be your best bet. But before you start there, you need to have your digital footprint. You need to have a resume or CV. I recommend CV. It's going to be easiest to keep track of things as you move along in your career. So digital footprint, CV, and you need to have a pitch. Even if you're not into entrepreneurship, whoever you're going to be engaging is limited on time because they're clinicians, right? So in 30 seconds to a minute, I need to know, who are you? What do you need? When do you need it? How much do you need it from? What's the criteria for this person that you need it from? So one of my nurses, she was looking for a preceptor, right? I need to know, how do you spell your full name and your credentials? What school do you attend? Automatically, once I saw her school, I knew people were going to help us, right? Let's just say it's GW, for example. As soon as I see GW or Memphis, I'm helping them, right? I see nurse, I'm helping them. But it makes a big deal. So what's your name, full credentials? What school do you go to? What do you need, right? So what are the credentials of this person? What is your school asking for? Hours, credentials, experience, setting. What are the things you actually have to do during that time? Just have it black and white, just like plain and simple. And then how long? When does it need to start? When does it need to end? And any other circumstances, right? Oh, you're not available on Fridays. Oh, you have children that you need to drop off. All those little details need to just be upfront and clear. And so I want it right away before I even ask my network to help you give me everything, because I don't do back and forth email. Oh, I have a student, can someone help me? No, I have a student, this is what they need. If you can assist, reach out to me at this email by this, whatever. Like, when you're looking for help, you want to make it as easy for that person asking for help as possible, because the less they have to do, the quicker they can get it done. I remember when I was pretty young and I had like a supervisor ask me to write my own recommendation letter, right? Because then she could just, read it, make sure she agreed, and then sign it. Much faster to do that than to ask her to do something from scratch. And so with one of my other mentees, what I have her doing is one of my PA mentees, which is what I did in the past, is I say, just keep up with me once a month, just email me, let me know what you're up to, so that when the time comes, because the time will always come for a recommendation letter, reference, whatever, whether it's in 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, this way I already know what you've been up to. Along the way, I can provide guidance and check in on you. But by the time it's time for me to craft that letter, even I don't have to dig back and figure out what's happened. I just go off of memory. Boom, 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 I'm done. Everybody's going to be different. That's my style. So that's what I ask for. That's what we do. That's what she does. And she's really impressed me, I have to say. Shout out to her. So yeah, that's my tip for shadowing. Start with your network. I talked about going in person, right? People have emails that are full, completely full. And so if you think you're going to stand out in an email, it's probably never going to happen. Show up in person, show up in an event they're having, bring some goodies, a nice little basket, have a handwritten note along with your CV, with your picture on it, your contact information clear, contact information, best time to reach you, and in your handwritten note, what is it that you need? Just like I said, what do you need? When do you need it? Why do you need it? And if that person can't help you, maybe they can refer you to someone who can. Never make that the last stop. Always try to leverage that interaction so that they continue to work on your behalf, because you never know. Maybe they're just not available. Maybe they're leaving that job in 2 weeks, right? And they don't want to tell anyone, but they also are still willing to help you. And so they might say, oh yeah, my colleague down the street, they love doing this, or da 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 da, or they'd be a good person to ask. So those are my tips for that. Okay, so a big thing, you know, a lot of you want to get into derm, right? Not just those of you who I'm meeting, even online, people are looking for something else, right? They're looking for derm, they're looking for remote jobs, they're looking for aesthetics. What is it you're looking for? What do all those jobs have in common, right? They seem less burning, they seem more enjoyable, but also they're on your timeline. We're always going to be attracted to the things that we see. And so that's why, again, it's so important to be out here networking, to go to conferences, in-person events, be part of your professional organizations, so you get exposed to more things. If you've only been exposed to school and the setting that you work in, it's a limited perspective, right? And you need to open up your mind to what else exists. One thing I love that entrepreneurship has taught me, and it really parallels to life, and some of this is cultural and societal norms. If you grow up thinking, I have to graduate high school, go to college, graduate, become doctor, nurse, lawyer, engineer, get married, have children, buy a house, start a business. If you think those are the only check boxes that you need to meet, those are the only things that will make you a complete person, it's a limited perspective, because you can do and be so many more things, right? And I think we do a disservice to our young people when we say, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up? I think the question should be, regardless of your age, is who do you want to be? Like, what words would you use to describe yourself? Not what you do, right? Not what you do, but who are you? And what does that life look like? Like, is it you waking up with an ocean outside the door? Is it you going into an office and interacting with people? Like, really, what does it look like? Don't be afraid to dream. Don't be afraid to say it. You'd be surprised that just by putting those thoughts together and putting them out in the world, how realistic that can actually become. But once you have identified that, it will help you know what opportunities are best for you. If I hear about an 8-hour job 5 days a week, that's not an opportunity for me, because I've already identified that I want to own my own business. Well, owning business requires time, and I need as much time as possible to not only start the business, but to continue to learn my specialty and my craft. So I can't be in clinic 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. That's not going to work for me. If you're trying to start a family or be home for your family, to pick them up from school, to drop them off, to make dinner for your partner, it's not going to be conducive for you to work a night job. It might not be conducive for you to work in the OR. So you say, oh, look, it's a good money, right? Everyone wants to be a CRNA because they make good money. Yeah, but what about the lifestyle? And then someone the other day, oh, so glad I saw it. He was like, we pick these specialties and these paths based on our lifestyles in our 20s, but they don't necessarily fit the lifestyle that we want to continue to live, right? And so it's not always about the money. You can make money a lot of ways. First, accept that part. You can make money a lot of ways. You can have control over your life and choose the schedule you want. Every job you can think of, ER, urgent care, ICU, all those jobs can be done in person or remotely. So it's all about what you want, right? So I just encourage you to think about the life that you want and why you want it. So if you want to get into dermatology, but you haven't read any articles, you haven't been to any events, you haven't reached out to meet anyone who's been practicing, and then ask them why they're doing it, how much they love it, what would they do differently, would they start over? Because while you're trying to get in, there's a lot of them trying to get out. just like healthcare, just like nursing, right? You're in here trying to be an NP and a nurse and in dermatology, and at the same time, there's people leaving every day complaining about the patient load, the poor reimbursement, the lack of assistance, how long it takes to document. So you just need to ask around and also ask yourself, why do I want to do this? So, for instance, let's talk about dermatology and aesthetics, right? Very popular at the moment. It's all over your timeline. They're smiling, they're laughing, they're dancing, they're making really fun videos. It is so attractive. But that's not all of dermatology. Dermatology, I'm in love with dermatology. It is a wonderful specialty, not just for patient care. Remember, you're not going to hear me talking about patient care that much. I'm going to be talking about provider centered practice. And of course, filling gaps, because as entrepreneurs, that's what we do. We fill gaps. So gaps when it comes to patient care, diversity, medical education, and research. Those are my areas. Those are my primary areas. So just because you might relate to me because you like dermatology, you're an MP, you're a PA, that doesn't mean we want the same thing, right? Just because I'm a woman, that doesn't mean I want the same thing you want. So you have to, when you meet people, you have to ask them, what is it you want? Why are you here? What drew you to this? Where are you trying to go after this, right? Because everybody's going to have a different answer to that. So, yeah, even when it comes to aesthetics, there's people who have done aesthetics for some time and they decide they want to leave, right? Maybe they don't feel inspired. But that's what I was saying. When it comes to medical derm, I love it. There's so many wonderful things we can do in dermatology. I've said it before. Let's say you're really into alopecia, right? Because in our community, we don't get any education on how to care for our hair. We see how it impacts our self-esteem. We see how it impacts our wallet, dating, intimacy, all kind of things alopecia does, right? Mental health. So you've decided to start a hair care clinic, write books, offer training, all those things. You could do that for decades and be very fulfilled, help hundreds, thousands of people in doing one thing. Now, is treating alopecia sexy and attractive? You might not see a lot of videos on that. That doesn't mean that it might not be a great path. So just because you see something on social media doesn't mean there's not beautiful opportunities in other areas of dermatology. There's a lot of it. And so we hope that we can expose that to you both through all these events that we're putting together, through upcoming virtual grand rounds, and through this channel and in our conversations, right? So I think that's all the questions I'm going to answer today. What was I going to say? Please subscribe so that anytime I go live, which will be next Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern Central, okay? So there's other, I'm going to use my time zone so I don't get confused. I'll see you here next Sunday. I don't know what the topic's going to be yet. It'll be whatever you all present to me. Okay, so I have to say, this weekend was DMPs of Color Conference out in Philly. It wrapped today. So yesterday was DMPs of Color Day. The DMP week is the 19th to the 25th, and on the 25th, we'll be celebrating the 20th anniversary of the DMP degree itself. So, I interviewed Dr. Danielle McCamey, the president, CEO, and founder of DMPs of Color last week on the Melanin Initiative. And so she had told me that this week we're supposed to be doing something, trying to I don't know if we're going live every day. I'm about to hop over to our private chat and find out what the plan is, but I'm off this week, so I want to help with some of that content. So hopefully we'll be doing something this week just to kind of recognize the degree and what it means to have your DMP degree. So stay tuned for that. So yeah, I think that part's that. At Diversity in Dermatology, our agenda is live. Our registration has been open. You can go over there and check that out. Become a member. Membership is free. We have the Mahogany Telederm Nurse Internship, which is another way I'm going to be putting out this framework of how we can get nurses more involved in other areas of practice, right, outside of patient-centered care. And I think that will help answer these other questions when it does come to the DMP degree, because we look at if you don't know, I know if you're a student, you're being encouraged to advance your education. You might even be in a program where the only option was getting your DMP at the end. And what you don't know until you come out is that you're going to have to defend that degree. There's a lot of questions when it comes to what it is and why you're doing it, and if it's a waste of time. That's not something you want to hear as a student after all the time, energy, and sacrifice, right? And so we're out here trying to change that and just bring awareness to the public so that we, our peers, can understand what it means, right? And what value we bring to the table. So it goes along with my whole thing about what we do is beyond patient care. If you are, so a lot of times when you talk to nurses and you see these testimonials, they focus on procedures and things they're doing with their hands. I love to work with my hands, right? That's fine. But the problem that you have in delivering patient-centered care cannot be addressed at the bedside or at that direct patient care encounter. They are addressed at the boardroom. And in the boardroom, they're talking about finances, return on investment, operations management, systems analysis, and economics, right? Policy, procedures, employment, retention, satisfaction, all those things, right? And so profits and loss. So as nurses, if we really want to make change, sustainable change, we have to be at that table and we have to be able to have the same conversation. And so that requires us to have advanced education. And that occurs by continuing education. And so when you ask me, what is the purpose of the degree? Why should I get it if I'm not going to get paid more? Well, if you have that degree and you don't get paid more, that's not anybody else's fault. You should be learning about negotiation and how to demand more. It also positions you to get more in a variety of settings, right? Because we're not just valuable in the clinic setting with the patient. So keep an open mind when it comes to that. So this Mahogany Telederm nurse internship is going to expose you to that. This is for student nurses or those with a license. Students have to be in good standing. I think ideally the best candidate for this, just because students are so busy, unless you just have like 1 or 2 classes or a light load. So you're either a student with a light load, or you just graduated and you finished orientation, or you will finish around January, or you've been practicing, right? And you're interested in dermatology, research, and business, because that's what we're going to cover. You're going to help me go through all the latest evidence. We're going to be putting out a lot of articles. You have the chance to be listed as an author. We will be building my business, right? And so you'll learn about social media, marketing, what it means to build a business, the legal aspects of that. You'll have the opportunity to put together presentations and give those presentations if you want to. And then, of course, any events I attend, I'll give you'll have an invitation to those. And so, yeah, it's just an opportunity to just kind of be out here and start to develop your CV, your confidence, your communication, your exposure, your network. And I'm happy you'll help me get more articles out. And I would just love to share everything I know. As much as I know and continue to learn, I'm happy to impart that. I always talk about my legacy, and every day I'm just thinking about how I can share what I have learned and continue to learn. At this point, I want to spend all my time supporting you as the provider, the student, so that you can provide better care for our patients, and so you can have a more fulfilling practice and satisfying life. And so that through the internship, that's my goal, is to help you take a control of your presence, right, in our industry. And so we have the DMV Dermatology and PPA Group's Friendsgiving. That'll be on November 21st at 7 p.m. in Old Town Alexandria. RSVP closes on the 7th. The links are below. Our guest speaker will be a good friend of mine over at Diversity and Dermatology. The whole reason we're doing these in-person events and our upcoming grand rounds starting in January, they'll be free monthly grand rounds where we just walk through cases, not only the disease itself, but you as a provider. How do you walk yourself through that process? When you're in the room by yourself with that patient, how are you going from step A to Z with that, right? What resources are available? How do you address challenging questions? How to use your time wisely, and those kind of things that don't come up in clinic or in school or in orientation. And shout out to Caleb. He's our Blacksburg advisor for that idea. We met 2 weeks ago, and so we'll be starting to put those together. And then the conference, the virtual preceptor shop. So, we have From Bedside to Dermatology, a step-by-step guide for nurses. That's the newest ebook related to dermatology. And then we have the Dermatology Nurse Practitioner Starter Kit. And I haven't said a lot about it, but I added the Mahogany Telederm over-the-counter skincare routine for acne, aging, and hyperpigmentation. Again, based on all your questions. It includes for the face and the body. It's how I started my skincare regimen and my love bug, and it's worked for us. Now, of course, I do use some medical grade products, and I used some prescriptions for a while, but over the counter, it still works if that's where you want to start. And then, of course, I've already invited you to check out the Melanin Initiative podcast. It's a health literacy podcast. And so what we do over there is we do two things. We try to increase health literacy amongst the public, give people the language to ask questions, empower them to take care of their health, and teach them how to navigate the system, right? In a setting where it's not an emergency, where they have time to really digest the information. And then the second thing we do is we elevate the voice and expertise of nurses. They come on, they share their nursing journey to help those of you who are deciding or trying to decide which direction to go, to see what it means to be a nurse, right? Some of them are entrepreneurs, some of them are teachers, professors, some of them have families. So you can see the full spectrum of what it means to be a nurse. And we promote entrepreneurship over there quite a bit. And so I created that really for all of you so that you have that example and just a place where you can learn and ask questions and increase your exposure to what it means to be a nurse. And I thank Geraldine, Alicia, and Angie for allowing this dream to come true. And it's really grown since we've gotten so much more support from our nursing community. And I feel like each interview gets better and better. I told you about my interview with Danielle, and also we dropped 2 other episodes this week. Well, today and Tuesday. Tuesday, we recognize infant and pregnancy loss. It occurs every October 15th at 7 p.m. And so that was with Tiffany English Lewis, who's a nurse and doula and founder of Hannah's Heart Fertility. She came on to talk about her business, the motivation and the services that she offers. And also she shared her own infertility journey with IVF, as well as her own diagnosis of endometriosis. And so all of those are available right now. All the links are below for you. So we've been here as usual for an hour. And I just want to thank you all for watching. My mother's in the comments. Appreciate your support. And thank you for leaving a comment. Someone else, 2 other people. Whoever's here, just say hello and lets me know that this information is important so that when people like you look for information like this, it'll let the algorithm know that it should show up higher in the results. If you have questions for me that you want me to address on next week, just send them to me through the Mahogany Dermatology blog, or you can always leave it in the comments. I want to thank you all so much for watching. I hope that my mobile hotspot did its job and this is not choppy. And I'll see you next week. Have a wonderful week. Make sure you take care of yourself.